Have you ever had a moment where the fantasy that you've been holding so tightly to begins to crack and the truth becomes impossible to ignore? It's one of those weeks. I'm Nafa Perkins of Electra Astrology, and this is the path ahead, which is my astrology forecast. I'm going to take you through the astrology of the week. I'm going to share with you how it might impact you and bring you some remedies, but I am teaching more than astrology here. I am teaching self-awareness. When you live a life on autopilot, you are tossed around by every thought that comes through your head, every emotional response that you have, and of course, outside influences. But when you are allowing those things to come in without examining them, without questioning whether they're true or not, you lose your power. And that's one of the things that I'm here doing, is using astrology as an organizing tool to teach you about your own power. And truly, that power lies in your consciousness, your ability to tune in and question what is underneath, question your truth, question your trauma, question the things that have come before now that have told you to think a certain way or taught you to react in a different way or taught you to be emotionally reactive. And in examining those things, it brings you closer to the truth of who you are, which is where the true power lies. Right now, we are under such strong astrology that is teaching us how to become our own authority, how to trust in our own deep and inner knowing. We don't know who we are unless we examine our inner landscape. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm glad that you're here. If you want to book a private reading with me, you can do that at electraastrology.com. You can also get your hands on my free ebook, Astrology is a Superpower, at that same link. So before I change screens and go into the charts, let's just take a minute to breathe. Come into the present moment by taking deep breaths into your heart, into your solar plexus, into your stomach, into your sacrum. This might be the first deep breath that you have taken all day, and it might be the first breath that you've taken with consciousness. Just get a sense of how your body feels right now in this moment and where your nervous system is at. We're in a time where the nervous system is easily triggered and activated. Everything is vying for attention right now. And as we know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so much of what comes into our field, much of the outside influence as it pertains to media and social media, even different conversations that we have with people, emails, etc., are designed to get your attention, to impact your nervous system. And without knowing that, you might be walking around with a nervous system that is on high alert all the time. So one way that you can easily calm your nervous system, at least in the moment, is by tuning in, taking some deep breaths straight into your core and meeting yourself. Oh, hi, it's me. I'm here. I'm a person. I am a mind that is in a body that has a heart, and I'm right here with myself, paying attention to how I feel. That's a really powerful practice, and I suggest that you do it as often as you can. We'll begin on April 29th with Venus here at 29 degrees of Pisces. Venus has not had an easy time of it. She's had to cross over the North Node. She's had to cross Saturn. She's just finally out of retrograde. Next, she's going to move into Aries and have to cross Neptune. Sometimes the hardest breakup is with the fantasy and not with the person. It's one of the things that we're contending with as Venus has gone through all of this difficulty. If you think back over the past few months to your finances, what has gone on with your money and the way that you have perceived money, your beliefs about money and whether you have it or don't have it, you want more of it, you need to pay off debt, all of the stuff that's come up for you, the fears primarily about money and how you're going to make more of it and what it means if you don't have enough of it. Those are fantasies. Those are fantasies that, in the case of Saturn, have been asking you to reevaluate what is really valuable. How important is it that you have money? How important is it that you have a ton of extra money? How important is it that you have a ton of extra money to buy stuff with? Think of everything that you've purchased over the last 6 months. What's been truly important? What have you spent money on that has actually kept you feeling secure and satiated and delighted long after the purchase? Probably not much. Think about the places where you have spent your time, where you have sat down and given of yourself, where you have sat in conversation, or you've connected with another person, or you've shown up and used your physical strength to do a task. How has that made you feel? Did that satisfaction last longer than the satisfaction of purchasing something? I'm giving you some examples here because we're talking about fantasy, and all of these fantasies that we have about money and what having more money would buy us, how it would make us feel, how we would be worthier somehow. We would have more value if we had more money, if we could buy nicer things. Venus meeting with the North Node, I think, has taught all of us that that isn't really what we want to put our focus on. So as Venus hits 29 degrees of Pisces, a lot of our illusions are crumbling. The same is true for love. You might have had a relationship that you had fantasies about. You were holding out hope. Maybe this person will start being nice again. Maybe if I give enough to them, they'll notice my value. If I'm nice enough, they won't keep trying to take something from me. Even though they haven't been trustworthy in the past, I feel like they're being nice enough now that it must mean that I can trust them. I don't want to instigate a hard conversation, so I'm not going to say anything, and I'm going to hope that it's going to resolve itself. I'm giving examples actually that have come from readings that I have done over the past few weeks with clients who are coming to see the truth of the matter, which is that you cannot give yourself away and expect to get something useful or valuable in return. Venus teaches us a few different things. Venus, as a ruler of Taurus, teaches us that we are the creators of our own value. If we are missing something, we must actually go and find it. We must plant the garden and grow it. We must see our own inherent worth. And we are strong enough and powerful enough and have the ability to do that. And Venus in Libra teaches us about right relationship, who we wish to be in partnership, our projections onto others, the way that people project onto us, and how ideally we want to be relating to people in a way that is clean and clear. I'm not seeing you through the lens of who I want you to be, and you're not seeing me through the lens of who you think I am. Instead, we're seeing one another through a clean, clear lens that says, here I am. This is what I bring to the table. This is what I suck at. Do you still love me? Can you still accept me? And vice versa. And so we have been learning so much about all of that, our self-confidence, having to create that ourselves, seeing that our worth and value is not dependent on how much money we make or on whether somebody else loves us. We're also looking at, like I said, money, and seeing that in many cases, we don't actually need more than we have. We think that we do, and we focus on the lack of not having that. And it leads us into what I was talking about at the beginning. When we are not the driver of our own ship, lack comes in. We have all of these thoughts around how we don't have enough. We have all of this emotional reactivity. We're comparing ourselves to other people. We are coming up short, and it causes this whole messy thing where we're not seeing reality. We aren't in our body. We aren't in the present moment. We are up in our minds, comparing ourselves, thinking that we need more than we have, and we're missing what we do have. We're missing the present moment. So as Venus has been doing all of this hard work, we have been doing that hard work alongside. We have been doing that hard work on an internal level. So Venus gets ready to move into Aries, and this is on April 30th. And truly, this is the moment where we choose honesty with ourselves. And we get it. Like, even if we have to let a fantasy go, even if we see that we have been wrong about something, and that is humbling, we have to let it go. We have to move into what is true and what is real and what we feel passionate and purposeful about. We are no longer looking at other people and saying, what do they value? Can I get that? What are they buying? Should I buy that? We are saying, this is what is right and true for me. This is how I want to do it. Now, This is about self-prioritization. We realize that our illusions and our delusions have been keeping us small, and that we actually have to reframe the way that we perceive something in order to move forward with more power. So now we look at Venus meeting with Neptune. And this is going to feel a little confusing, but we know that Neptune is the ultimate spiritual teacher. Neptune is our relationship to higher power. But with Neptune, we have to do a lot of work around having patience and allowing ourselves to be guided. With Neptune, we don't really have any control over the timing of things, but we look at everything as if it is a deeply spiritual lesson. We know that Venus has been traveling through all of this, and it's been a huge spiritual journey for us. But there is some sort of culmination of the spiritual lesson that we are coming to understand this week. I'm going to talk more about this. I'm going to do a YouTube live on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So pop on to join me. And if you want to ask me questions, I'll be there interacting with you guys. But this transit brings this energy of, what if this thing that you've been waiting for, this answer that you've been wanting, this problem that you were hoping would fix itself, what if the answer has been here the whole time? It's similar to when Dorothy realizes that she's had the answer, the way to get home the whole time, but she had to go through this whole journey in order to be able to see the answer. And I think that we are going to have a similar experience this week, understanding that the truth has been here the whole time. And maybe we just didn't want to see it. Maybe we were so engaged with the fantasy of it and the excitement of it that we didn't want to come into reality. But let me tell you, reality is a great place to be. Reality is where the truth resides. And when I ask you to take a deep breath and tune into your body, into the present moment, that is what I'm engaging you to do, is to just be right here, right now, in the reality of the room that you're in, which is very different than your fantasies, your thoughts, or that emotional reaction that has been triggered because your feelings have been hurt. Like, reality is right here, right now. My reality, I'm sitting in this room. Somebody's making a quesadilla. I can smell it. I can hear the air conditioning in the background. I can see the light in my face. That is what is here right now. It has nothing to do with me thinking about a past relationship or ruminating about something somebody said or being annoyed because somebody didn't text me back. That is all the noise that we create in our heads. Reality is right here, right now. And it is in reality that we get to neutrality. And neutrality is a Neptune thing. Neutrality teaches us that whatever will be, and it will likely be okay because we are in an always optimizing universe. I want to mention too that Jupiter is clearing its retrograde shadow on May 2nd. So our Jupiter lessons that we've kind of been waiting for, Jupiter has been teaching us in the sign of Gemini for the last several months about how to reframe the information that we come across. All of those facts, all of those links, all of that ceaseless information that is constantly being downloaded into our minds and our brains, that comes from conversations and media and social media and the phones and emails and all of that. Jupiter has been teaching us how to detach from all of the minutia and see the bigger picture and really make meaning of what you're doing on this planet at this time. We're in such a time of transition, and everywhere you look, there's a fire that needs to be put out. There's problems, there's people that need help, there's things to be outraged about, things to be fearful about. Like, we can go there, and that's very Gemini to go there and let your mind spin out about all the stuff. But Jupiter says, wait. Take a deep breath, take some distance, zoom out. What is the most important thing to focus on right now? It's like when you walk into a dirty room and it looks so chaotic, you don't know what you're going to do. You're already tired. You sit down and start watching TV instead of cleaning because you're like, I don't even know where to start. That's Gemini. Jupiter says, walk in. What's the biggest problem here? Start there. And so Jupiter has been teaching us through its retrograde cycle in Gemini about how to zoom out from the minutia and really get a sense of what's truly important. while also understanding that we have to change some of our beliefs around things. That does go nicely with this idea that I was talking about with Venus of breaking the fantasy, right? We have these fantasies. Sometimes they're good fantasies, sometimes they're scary fantasies, but ultimately they just exist within our minds. They're not even real. And so Jupiter clearing the shadow and finally at full speed, getting ready to head into Cancer in the next few months, we're finally going to get some of the downloads of like what that whole transit was teaching each of us on a unique level. So be looking for those ideas too. Be looking for those aha moments to land. On May 3rd, we have Uranus making an opposition to Juno. I did some great Juno talks. If you want to listen to those, they're on both the podcast and on YouTube. Juno is the asteroid that relates to our long-term partnerships and also to the way that we connect in and kind of manage our connections and connect people to one another. It has the energy of the matriarch. It also has the energy of the wife. And so with Uranus opposing Juno, we are looking at some shifting, some changing, some insight, some revolution within our long-term relationships and within our connections. So this might be a week where you make a connection with somebody. If you are a business owner or you have been trying to make a name for yourself or get connected to the right person, this could be a week where that finally happens. Maybe you're a parent and you've been trying to find somebody to help your kid or help your family. That might happen this week. Or you might just notice some fresh new air coming into a relationship. If you have felt stagnation in your relationship and you're like, oh, I just know that something needs to change, like I need something different, that might be showing up this week as well. Uranus can bring us energy that we weren't expecting, but usually in hindsight, we feel grateful about the fact that something changed. And on May 4th, Pluto stations to go retrograde. We are already feeling this. Pluto in Aquarius is teaching us about the evolution of who we are and the evolution of society as a whole. Pluto moves so slowly that it's not fast and aggressive change. It's small and incremental. So as Pluto stations to go retrograde, this is a good time to just look at who you have become over the past few years since Pluto has been in Aquarius. How has your relationship to the general public changed? How are you seeing the world through a different lens than you used to? With Pluto in retrograde, it's not so much about trying to control the world. It's about turning that focus inward to understand, where do I need to develop more self-mastery of my inner world? And a deepening into the understanding that true power does not mean that we are controlling everybody or even anybody. True power is when we have learned to hold our center steady. We are quiet enough and still enough to be able to see what's really going on, to be able to see the truth, to be able to read people. They don't even have to open their mouths, but we are so attuned to what's happening that we are pulling in that deep information. And that's what Pluto is about. It helps us to see the deeper storyline of what's happening. But with Pluto on the shadow side, we try to control other people. We get into power struggles. We try to manipulate to get what we want. We get really fearful that something bad is going to happen again. Something bad happened in our past, and we're not going to let that happen again. So we're going to control everybody else. We're going to make sure that other people are good, that they have the right opinions, that they're doing the right thing. And that is a misuse. That is the shadow side of Pluto. The powerful side of Pluto is where we become so attuned to our inner world. We become so interested in the underlying story of what's really going on that we are the ones that are in complete control, not because we're dominating, not because we're defended, but because we are all seeing. Last week, I did a live on Pluto in a square to the sun, and I likened Pluto to being the sorcerer within your kingdom. And you want a powerful sorcerer. You don't want a sorcerer that's always reactive and snarky and blaming and vindictive and addicted. Those are not qualities that we want in a sorcerer. So as Pluto is going retrograde for the next several months, we want to work on our own inner vision. Something that you can do every day is silently watch how people are around you. Silently pay attention to the checker at the grocery store. Watch the people at the basketball game. Listen for what's underneath the words that somebody is saying to you. You are an empath and you are intuitive, and there is so much subtle information going on all the time, invisible conversations that you can tune into, and you can use what you see and what you notice to your advantage. And that is true power. All right. I hope this was helpful. Come see me live on Wednesday. And I am also releasing Taurus talks right now on both the podcast and on YouTube. So tune into those two, because Taurus also has a ton to teach us about personal power. All right. See you guys soon.